his fist, and if I had not stepped back I swear he would have struck me. The highly improper words William used I will omit, out of consideration for him. Even while he was apologizing for them, I retired to the smoking room, where I found the cigarettes so badly rolled that they would not keep alight. After a little I remembered that I wanted to see Middleton Finch about an improved saddle, of which a friend of his has the patent. He was in the newsroom, and having questioned him about the saddle, I said, "By the way, what is this story about your swearing at one of the waiters?" "You mean about his swearing at me?" Middleton Finch replied, reddening. "I am glad that was it," I said, "for I could not believe you guilty of such bad form." "If I did swear," he was beginning, but I went on. "The version which reached me was that you swore at him and he repeated the word. I heard he was to be dismissed and you reprimanded." "Who told you that?" asked Middleton Finch, who was a timid man. "I forget. It is club talk," I replied lightly. "But of course the committee will take your word. The waiter, whichever one he is, richly deserves his dismissal for insulting you without provocation." Then our talk returned to the saddle, but Middleton Finch was abstracted, and presently he said, "Do you know, I fancy I was wrong in thinking that waiter swore at me, and I'll withdraw my charge to-morrow." Middleton Finch then left me, and sitting alone I realized that I had been doing William a service. To some slight extent I may have intentionally helped him to retain his place in the club, and I now see the reason, which was that he alone knows precisely to what extent I like my claret heated. For a mere second I remembered William's remark that he should not be able to see the girl Jenny from the library windows. Then this recollection drove from my head that I had only dined in the sense that my dinner bill was paid. Returning to the dining room, I happened to take my chair at the window, and while I was eating a deviled kidney, I saw in the street the girl whose nods had such an absurd effect on William. The children of the poor are as thoughtless as their parents, and this Jenny did not sign to the windows in the hope that William might see her, though she could not see him. Her face, which was disgracefully dirty, bore doubt and dismay on it, but whether she brought good news it would not tell. Somehow I had expected her to signal when she saw me, and though her message could not interest me, I was in the mood in which one is irritated at that not taking place which he is awaiting. Ultimately she seemed to be making up her mind to go away. A boy was passing with the evening papers, and I hurried out to get one. Rather thoughtlessly, for we have all the papers in the club. Unfortunately I misunderstood the direction the boy had taken, but round the first corner, out of sight of the club windows, I saw the girl Jenny, and so I asked her how William's wife was. "Did he send you to me?" she replied, impertinently taking me for a waiter. "My," she added, after a second's scrutiny, "I believe you're one of them. His missus is a bit better, and I was to tell him as she took all the tapiocar." "How could you tell him?" I asked. "I was to do like this," she replied, and went through the supping of something out of a plate in dumb show. "That would not show she ate all the tapioca," I said. "But I was to end like this," she answered, licking an imaginary plate with her tongue. I gave her a shilling, to get rid of her, and returned to the club disgusted. Later in the evening I had to go to the club library for a book, and while William was looking in vain for it (I had forgotten the title), I said to him, "By the way, William, Mr. Middleton Finch is to tell the committee that he was mistaken in the charge he brought against you, so you will doubtless be restored to the dining room to-morrow." The two members were still in their chairs, probably sleeping lightly, yet he had the effrontery to thank me. "Don't thank me," I said, blushing at the imputation. "Remember your place, William." "But Mr. Middleton Finch knew I swore," he insisted. "A gentleman," I replied stiffly, "cannot remember for 24 hours what a waiter has said to him." "No, sir, but—" To stop him I had to say, "And, William, your wife is a little better. She has eaten the tapioca, all of it." "How can you know, sir?" "By an accident." Jenny signed to the window. "No." Then you saw her and went out and nonsense! Oh, sir, to do that for me! May God William! Forgive me, sir, but when I tell my missus, she will say it was thought of your own wife as made you do it." He wrung my hand. I dared not withdraw it, lest we should waken the sleepers. William returned to the dining room, and I had to show him that, if he did not cease looking gratefully at me, I must change my waiter. I also ordered him to stop telling me nightly how his wife was, but I continued to know, as I could not help seeing the girl Jenny from the window. Twice in a week I learned from this objectionable child that the ailing woman had again eaten all the tapioca. Then I became suspicious of William. I will tell why. It began with a remark of Captain Upjohn's. We had been speaking of the inconvenience of not being able to get a hot dish served after 1 a.m., and he said, "It is because these lazy waiters would strike. If the beggars had a love of their work, they would not rush away from the club the moment 1 o'clock strikes. That glum fellow, who often waits on you, takes to his heels the moment he is clear of the club steps. He ran into me the other night at the top of the street, and was off without apologizing." "You mean the foot of the street, Upjohn," I said, for such is the way to Drury Lane. "No, I mean the top. The man was running west." "East." "West." I smiled, which so annoyed him that he bet me 2 to 1 in sovereigns. The bet could have been decided most quickly by asking William a question, but I thought, foolishly doubtless, that it might hurt his feelings, so I watched him leave the club. The possibility of Upjohn's winning the bet had seemed remote to me. Conceive my surprise, therefore, when William went westward. Amazed, I pursued him along 2 streets without realizing that I was doing so. Then curiosity put me into a hansom. We followed William, and it proved to be a 3-shilling fare, for running when he was in breath and walking when he was out of it, he took me to West Kensington. I discharged my cab, and from across the street watched William's incomprehensible behavior. He had stopped at a dingy row of workmen's houses, and knocked at the darkened window of one of them. Presently a light showed. So far as I could see, some one pulled up the blind, and for 10 minutes talked to William. I was uncertain whether they talked, for the window was not opened, and I felt that had William spoken through the glass loud enough to be heard inside, I must have heard him too. Yet he nodded and beckoned. I was still bewildered when, by setting off the way he had come, he gave me the opportunity of going home. Knowing from the talk of the club what the lower orders are, could I doubt that this was some discreditable love affair of William's? His solicitude for his wife had been mere pretense. So far as it was genuine, it meant that he feared she might recover. He probably told her that he was detained nightly in the club till 3. I was miserable next day, and blamed the devilled kidneys for it. Whether William was unfaithful to his wife was nothing to me, but I had 2 plain reasons for insisting on his going straight home from his club. The one, that as he had made me lose a bet, I would punish him. The other, that he could wait upon me better if he went to bed betimes. Yet I did not question him. There was something in his face that, well, I seemed to see his dying wife in it. I was so out of sorts that I could eat no dinner. I left the club. Happening to stand for some time at the foot of the street, I chanced to see the girl Jenny coming, and no, let me tell the truth, though the whole club reads, I was waiting for her. "How was William's wife today?" I asked. "She told me to nod 3 times," the little slattern replied, "but she looked like nothing but a dead one till she got the brandy." "Hush, child," I said, shocked. "You don't know how the dead look." "Bless yer," she answered, "don't I just? Why, I've helped to lay 'em out. I'm going on 7. "Is William good to his wife?" "Course he is. Ain't she his missus?" "Why should that make him good to her?" I asked cynically, out of my knowledge of the poor. But the girl, precocious in many ways, had never had my opportunities of studying the lower classes in the newspapers, fiction, and club talk. She shut one eye, and looking up wonderingly, said, Ain't you green just! When does William reach home at night? 'Tain't night, it's morning.